You save money. Every month before anything else goes out, something goes in, 10% or whatever you can manage, into the savings account first. That is what the advice says. Pay yourself first. You have heard it many times. You do it. You have been doing this for a while, months, maybe longer. You are consistent. You do not touch it. You leave it there to grow. You do what responsible people do. And somewhere, quietly, there is a question you have not asked out loud. Is this actually working? Saving money is not wrong, but saving money without understanding the system you are saving inside, that is where the problem begins. Saving as a financial strategy was designed for specific conditions, conditions where the interest rate on a savings account matched or outpaced inflation, where a year of consistent saving produced a year of real financial progress, where the gap between income and costs was wide enough that setting aside a meaningful percentage was achievable without significant sacrifice. Those conditions have changed substantially for many people. The advice has not changed with them. Here is what saving actually does in the current environment for someone in a tight financial position. A savings account pays somewhere between 1 and 5% annually, depending on where you are and which account you use. Inflation runs at a rate that may equal or exceed that figure. In real terms, in terms of what that money can actually purchase, your savings may be growing at zero, or it may be shrinking while the balance goes up. The balance increases, what the balance can buy does not. You are running to stay still. But the inflation problem is only the first layer. There is a layer underneath it that almost nobody speaks about directly. Here is what makes it worse. Most people who are consistently saving money are also carrying debt, a credit card balance, a personal loan, student debt, and the interest rate on that debt is almost certainly higher, significantly higher than the interest rate their savings account is paying. This means that every pound sitting in a savings account while that debt exists is costing money in net terms, not making money, losing it. The savings balance grows, the debt balance also grows because interest accumulates daily on most consumer debt. In net terms, the position is moving backward. The feeling of saving, the psychological comfort of watching that balance increase, is real. The feeling is genuine, but the mathematical reality underneath it runs in the opposite direction. Here is the part nobody warned you about. Saving feels responsible. It is the most visible, legible signal that you are a financially responsible person. It is what careful people do. It is what good people do. And that feeling, the feeling of being good with money, can mask the structural problem sitting directly underneath it. You can feel like you are making progress while the numbers say otherwise, and the feeling is convincing enough that it delays the examination that might change things. So here is what changes when you look at this clearly. Saving is a tool. Like any tool, it works inside specific conditions and produces different results outside of them. The problem is that saving still feels like the right thing to do, even when the conditions no longer support the outcome it is supposed to produce. The feeling and the function are not the same thing. The feeling is so consistent and so strong because saving feels so inherently like the responsible choice. Most people never pause to examine whether the function is actually working in their specific situation. You are not wrong to save. You are applying a tool that was designed for a set of conditions that may not match the conditions you are currently in. That is not a moral error. That is a context problem. You saved money because that is what you were told responsible people do. You prioritized it. You were consistent. You made it happen even in the months when it was hard to do. You were doing the right thing. You were doing it inside a situation the advice was not written for. That is not a failure of your effort. That is a failure of the information you were given. And it was information you were never given because the advice assumes everyone is starting from the same position. You were not wrong. You were working with an incomplete picture. So what are the actual rules? The first rule, understand what your savings are doing in real terms, not the balance, the real return after inflation. If your savings account is paying less than the current inflation rate, you are not building purchasing power. You are maintaining a feeling of security while the real value of that balance quietly decreases. The feeling and the function are not the same thing. The second rule, high-interest debt is almost always a higher financial priority than saving. Every pound of high-interest debt paid down returns the interest rate of that debt, tax-free, risk-free, guaranteed. No savings account currently available matches that return. The order matters. Debt first, then savings is the mathematically correct sequence for most people carrying both. The third rule, saving becomes structurally productive once the conditions support it, once high-interest debt is resolved, once the real return on a savings account is positive, once there is a genuine surplus to save from, not a theoretical one. Saving into a surplus is a different action from saving instead of addressing debt. Both feel identical from the outside. They produce very different results. Saving is not wrong. Saving in the wrong order, inside the wrong conditions, produces the outcome most people experience without understanding why. The point is not to stop saving. The point is to understand what saving is doing in your specific situation, not what it is supposed to do, not what it does for the median person the advice was written for, what it is doing for you, in your context, with your numbers. Because when you understand the system you are saving inside, the answer might still be to save, but it will be a deliberate answer, a chosen one, based on your situation, not the general case. Not saving because you were told to, saving because you understand what it is doing.